Hello Internet, Seth Skorkowski, and today we'll be discussing the classic Call of Cthulhu adventure, The Auction. Written by Randy McCall, the adventure first appeared in Chaosium's 1983 collection, The Asylum and Other Tales, and then later in 1990's Cthulhu Casebook. The scenario is short, coming in at 14 pages, and provides some fantastic role-playing opportunity, a murder mystery, a race against time, a Vienna backdrop, and some gripping combat. This adventure took us 2 6-hour sessions to complete. As the title implies, the scenario takes place at an auction, but not just any auction. This is an exclusive event where many occult and possibly mythos-related items will be coming available to a select group of prestigious clientele, and also the player characters.
Holy crap! I got an invite to bid on sanity-crushing horrors with the rich and noble elite, and it's in Vienna, Austria. Pack your bags, boys and girls, 'cause we are going down under.
Austria, not Australia. You know, Archduke Ferdinand, Mozart, the Alps.
Potato, what's the difference? As long as it's got koalas.
Well, this will be interesting. Now, players, before we go any further, from here on forward, I'm going to be laying out all the spoilers. So, Game Masters, stick around for some tips on how to run this classic adventure, but players, you don't want to ruin the surprise for yourselves, so I suggest you stop now. Okay, Game Masters, let's break this down because we have a lot to cover. The adventure begins when the PCs, or at least one of the PCs, receives an invitation and a catalog for an upcoming auction at the illustrious House of Augsburg in Vienna. The module provides the catalog for the player characters. However, there's a much nicer fan-made one that you can find for free at yogg-sothoth.com, so I recommend that you check that out. Now, if your PCs aren't wealthy enough or reputable enough to secure an invitation to Augsburg, there's a few options you can do. For my game, I had a very wealthy NPC in Arkham receive the invitation, and he sent the PCs off to Vienna with 500 British pounds to secure the gold ring on his behalf. That got the door open for them. Now, I strongly recommend that either this NPC or another beloved NPC accompanies the players on this trip. It's very important for later.
And, as said beloved NPC, I say it's real important that you bring me along too, 'cause, koalas.
The module provides some good information on costs and travel to Europe. I suggest that you actually have a lot of fun with this. What are they going to wear? What are they going to bring with them? All that stuff. One thing that they're going to have trouble bringing with them is weapons. Per the investigator's weapon guide, characters will need a permit to bring and carry a firearm, and non-citizens are ineligible to carry a firearm in Austria at all. Since it doesn't list Austria specifically, only that it's similar to other nations, I followed the laws for Germany. Any PC that's trying to smuggle a gun into the country should make a law check, like a hard law check, or maybe you could have a NPC, like a travel agent or somebody, mention that anyone that's caught trying to smuggle a gun into the country might be subject to going to jail. Hopefully that will talk them out of it. Another thing that the PCs will have to do is convert their currency. Austria uses the British pound, and the PCs will roll to see what sort of conversion rate they get, somewhere between $4.50 and $5 per British pound. This was a lot of fun because the players kept accidentally spending way too much money for goods and services than they intended when they were making all their purchases.
So you're telling me that it's only 12 for a European cut tuxedo? Yeah, I'll take it. I'll take 2 of them.
Once the PCs arrive and are all settled into their hotel, they're to check into the House of Augsburg prior to the auction, where they'll learn that the auction has been delayed a full day. The module never states why. I suggest that after the crime, when the PCs are asking Augsburg for the reason for the delay, have an excuse ready for it, such as something was held up in customs, or maybe the food arrived for the event, but it was all spoiled, so they had to get more food for the event, and that's the reason for the delay, or maybe just a death in the family, some sort of basic reason, but you need to have that prepared because the PCs are going to be asking a lot of questions once the investigation starts. Once the auction night arrives, the PCs will be taken up to the green room where they will dine and meet the cast of NPCs. Since this is really the setup for the murder and robbery, I suggest that you really take your time with this. Roleplay this all out. Give at least half an hour of playing because these contacts can greatly change the direction of the game. Also note where the water closet is and maybe come up with some interesting art that's displayed on the second floor, something for them to look at and discuss. The auction itself is pretty cut and dry. The module provides how much NPCs will pay for certain items or if they won't bid on them at all. I suggest that prior to the game you simply note how the bidding will go if the PCs don't get involved on any particular item. That way you can breeze through those quickly and spend more time focusing on the auction items that the PCs are actually bidding on. You only need to do this for the first 6 items, because after that, the evening is cut short by the robbery and murder and when the adventure actually begins. When the gruesome murder occurs, remember to make sand checks for all the NPCs that witnessed the body. Some of the guests fainted, several of them vomited, and one went screaming out of the building. Since everyone's about to become a suspect in this murder, their reactions are going to be important to the PCs doing the investigation. Our first session ended after the police had left the scene and Augsburg had asked the PCs for help. They'd interviewed the staff and had already their top 2 suspects in mind. This was a perfect stopping point for us. Among the hints that point suspicion onto Klaus Hunderpriest is the fact that he only blinks once every couple minutes, a product of his serpent person blood. The fact that he has some monster blood really doesn't do anything for the story and points suspicion on him very quickly, even before the murders.
Let's see, he's ugly, he's rude, and he doesn't blink his freaking eyes. I think that's all we need to know about him, Case closed. Let's take this guy out.
There is more than enough evidence to place the blame on Klaus already, so I suggest that you just nix that little detail. Maybe give the serpent person blood to another NPC as a red herring. That way the PCs might have a reason not to suspect Klaus, because by the time the investigation happened, the PCs were pretty sure it was him. At this point, the PCs might be missing all their weapons from back home. If they want some, they're going to have to use the black market. Now, if they played the game right and they've made all the necessary rolls while at the auction, they can use Nikolai Tychevsky that they met there. I prepared a list of weapons and contraband that Nikolai can acquire. Most are relics from the Great War, and prices reflect the black market inflation, except for SMGs, because 7th edition Call of Cthulhu put way too high a price on SMGs already. For the research part, the module only allows 1 investigative roll per week in order to gain information. That seems a little extreme to me. For one, House of Augsburg will know his address. They send him an invitation after all, so they shouldn't have to make a roll for that as long as they're simply talking to Augsburg and he can go, oh yeah, here's his address. Everything else, you can just narrow it down to 1 roll per day instead of per week. Otherwise, it might take them months to find out who did it, and if so, why is Klaus waiting so long to use the brass head? So go ahead, speed it up from a week to a day and just get the game going. Yogg-Sothoth.com also has some fan-made newspaper clippings that the PCs can discover that go into the recent rash of grave robbings. Eventually, Hunderpriest will realize that the PCs are snooping around, and he's going to threaten them to back off by kidnapping a player character and then sending him a letter that says that they need to leave Vienna or their friend is going to die. This is a great escalation and really raises the stakes for the game. However, I'm not a big fan of just taking out a player character with 0 chance for them to escape. It's a bum deal for your players if they're not going to be just removed from the game for no reason than to help it along for everyone else. So that's why I recommended that you bring along an NPC to Vienna. That way, they can kidnap the NPC instead of a player character.
Whoa, wait, what? You just brought me along so I could be freaking kidnapped? Son of a bitch.
For my game, I had one of the players not able to make it to the second session, so I just had Klaus kidnap his player character instead of an NPC. Hunderpriest does intend to kill this hostage, so the PCs can run a serious risk of losing a beloved friend if they don't succeed and do it quickly. Also, there are NPCs that the characters met at the auction that are willing to join in the investigation. They have their own agendas, but give them some character sheets just in case, because they can make an emergency backup character if you need one. Eventually the players will decide to go into Hunderpriest's apartment. Mine decided to take a different route and entered the sewers through a manhole, discovering the warrens and coming up from underneath. It was a great plan. However, the warrens are loaded with ghouls, so they had to make a couple fights along the way. After some daring combat, they came upon the entrance to Hunterpress' hidden lair. There are 4 ghouls here. Now, the ghouls are supposed to flee once 2 of them have been killed, and they go running off into the warrens. However, my players came from the warrens that were therefore blocking the escape, so they had to kill all 4 of them.
We lost one character that way, but thankfully the player was able to take over Mikel de Borsavin that they brought with them, and the game could just keep going.
Eventually, the PCs will face Klaus Hunterpress, save their kidnapped friend, and recover the stolen brass head. Now, if the PCs decide to mess with the head or allow the NPCs access to it, then there's a chance that they might accidentally release the servitor of the outer gods that's trapped inside of it, and that won't be good for anyone.
Which serves them right for messing around with dark and alien artifacts. I tell you, investigators, they never learn.
If the PCs decide to return the head to Augsburg, they are handsomely rewarded, not with just money, but with some great contacts if they ever do return to Europe. This can make a great springboard for any international games in the future. I recommend that once the head is returned that you have Augsburg reschedule the auction. That way the players can actually bid on any items that they were wanting. You could also use this time to have them add 1 or 2 new items that came in the meantime, and those could serve as possible MacGuffins for any sort of future adventures.
And one quick note about this auction. We've read different reviews where keepers expressed some concern about the powerful and mythos items that characters could purchase at this auction. And for that, I got 2 things to tell you. 1, it's not that they can purchase it, it's an auction. They can always get outbid. Remember, the players don't know how much money the NPCs have to bid with, and if you don't want them to get their hands on a certain item, you can make that amount infinite. They are never going to buy it if you don't want them to be able to. And second, remember, most of the items in this auction have no magic or mythos correlation whatsoever. And if they do pick up one that's mythos related, and if you don't want them to really be able to have it, please keep in mind that the characters can't actually touch the items until after they've purchased it. So they can buy it, and then later on, after they've spent a few hours, touching it and feeling it up or whatever it is they're going to do, that's when you can say, sorry, it looked like it had an Elder sign on it, but now that you got up close, I guess it doesn't. Sorry, too bad, better luck next time.
Overall, I found the auction adventure to be a lot of fun and definitely recommend it. It gave us plenty of role-playing opportunity and then some wonderful combat as well. Unfortunately, the module has been out of print for years. You can still score a used copy off of eBay, but I'm really hoping that Chaosium takes this scenario and some of their other out-of-print adventures, like Edge of Darkness, and re-releases them for 7th edition.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe and all that stuff. If you got any questions or comments, maybe some tips of your own about this adventure, just leave them in the comments below. Until next time, gamers, you have a great day.